Okay guys, so a few years ago when my son graduated from a crib to a bed, I made what I think is probably the coolest bed that I've made so far. Now the thing with kids is their interests change consistently. So now, you've seen the thumbnail, you know what I'm making. He's getting a new bed. Because that's what happens when your dad has a YouTube channel and needs videos. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get busted! Okay, so what we need to do first of all is we need to knock all this plywood down in manageable, usable sections. It's going to be down to what I'm going to actually use it. So I'm using 3 different thicknesses on this. You can see the OSB in the back, the 7/16 sheet of OSB. That is going to be what replaces the box spring if I had one. That's going to be what the mattress actually sits on and supports it. Now the box itself, all the way around the mattress, the bed itself is going to be made out of 1/2-inch plywood. I probably should have went with a 5/8, but I went 1/2 inch. It'll be fine. It's what I used previously. So I'm going to use 1/2 inch on that, and then for all the little trinkets and the add-ons that I'm going to be doing, I'm going to use 3/8 plywood, and that is all just for aesthetics. There's no structural integrity, so 3/8 will be absolutely fine. And if you want to call a 4th one, I'm going to probably be using some 1/4 inch plywood for some of the facial features and stuff like that. So technically I guess I'd be using 4. So once I have everything all cut and ready to go, then we can go on and start mocking up and assembling. Now that you got all the material broken down, if you're building a bed and you're going with just regular plywood, I didn't go for the sanded plywood because I was actually able to find some good sheets of plywood that didn't have a lot of knots in them. So if you're going this route, make sure that you find out the side that you want to be shown and use that side. Now you got these crazy knots in here. Now you can fill those with a Bondo or a putty if you want to. I'm not. I found good enough plywood. So we're going. Anyways, back onto the assembly portion. So this rail is what's actually going to sit the OSB on, and the mattress sits on top of this rail. So what I want to do is just to add a little bit more support is I'm adding these little feet that will actually sit to the floor. I'm going to glue and screw all of this from the back side and then fill all those holes later on. But these feet just act a little bit more because I know my kids are going to be jumping on this bed, and they'll reinforce it just a little bit. So because the lightning bolts are going to be kind of the side rails on this bed, so my kid doesn't fall off, I want him to run all the way across like this. So what I got in here now is the problem is right here, when I screw into here, I got a little wiggle room. But what I'm going to do, what I did is I cut a filler piece to match up here, which that'll actually make the side rail a little thicker and a little more supported, and it'll allow me that little spacer to keep in with the line of this skirt spacer to make everything just fit beautifully. And then that'll sit actually on there, and that'll just Atlanta, Georgia! I think you get it. There's no point in redoing that. You understand what I'm saying. We're just making fillers and stuff with lightning bolts. Now I would say this looks like what I'm going for here. I'm going to actually cut out all the little fingers over on the bandsaw. It's a little bit easier than with the jigsaw. But I think we're we got ourselves a little friend. I know the furnace is running, but when you're putting on these side rails, which is, this attaches like the headboard, you do the same thing with the footboard. When you're putting on these rails on the head and footboard that will attach the sides to it, you want to take into account the thickness of the plywood that the sides are, and then leave that gap for that plywood to sit in here. So that helps stabilize everything. And I'm just using a scrap piece of that cut off of that plywood, and that's going to give me my spacer to know what kind of gap that I need to put in here. Then line it all up, glue it, throw it from the bottom, and you're all good. Alright, all of the big pieces are cut out. I've got the side rails, I've got the big main focus, I got his ball, I got the footboard, I got the thunder lightning bolt things, and I got the headboard. All of the big stuff is cut out of the 3/8 and 1/2 inch plywood that I'm going to use. So now I got to get into the finer little details to make this thing pop and to make this thing more ball looking. So I'm going to switch over and do all that out of 1/4 inch. Alright, so now everything has been cut to size and all this kind of stuff, so now we're left with basically finishing, getting ready for paint, which means that first I got to round over all of the edges to make sure nothing is sharp and jagged and pointy. Then I'm going to fill all of the holes, and then I'm going to have to do my favorite thing in the whole world, which unfortunately is sand everything. I'll let you just see a montage of the terribleness that's about to have to happen. Okay, now that everything has a nice round edge to it, now what we're going to do is we're going to go through and have ourselves a putty party. Fill all these screw holes that I don't need for later on, and then we will sand. When you're making a bed for a kid, one thing that you want to keep in mind is you want to make sure there are no jagged or pointy edges, because kids are going to dive, climb, jump, do whatever they can to get in this bed. So make sure you go through and points like this that are on this bed. You can see I'm going over it with the sander fully to make sure that it's completely round over. That's also the same reason why you go through with the router, is to make sure there's no spots that your kid can get hurt on. So this is the part of the video that we may have to refer to later on, because as I was laying everything out for paint, I realized that I've never mocked this thing up. I'm not 100% sure everything's gonna fit, so either I'm very, very confident in my abilities, or I'm very, very stupid at what I'm doing. So slap some color on all this stuff, and then we're gonna find out if I'm confident or if I'm stupid. And I can't wait to find out which one. Alright, so what I did here is I cut out the eye and the cheek for this pattern, because then the idea will be I can lay the pattern onto the thing itself, and then I can flip it, and therefore my eyes and my cheeks will actually be symmetrical, because that's kind of the whole idea on doing a face, is you want it to be symmetrical. So that should work out there. And that is a wrap on this. That is a wrap on this project. If you like this, guess what? I got another kid who also wants a new bed, so I'm sure that's going to happen pretty soon. So, there you go. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.